Hi, everyone. It's Alicia here.
And this is Justine, and together we are Womanufacturing. Today we have a guest who is very near and dear to my heart. We have John Webster, who he and I go way back. We got the wonderful opportunity of working at a startup together as recent grads. And at the time, the company wasn't actually hiring green engineers. And so we accepted summer internships. And from that, we were both hired on as full-time employees, which was very exciting. And we actually lived together as interns and while we were working together, which means that we saw far too much of each other. So, John, it's great to have you on the pod. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I
It's
think
near and dear to my heart, too, okay?
Okay, of course. Actually, Alicia and him had several trauma bonding experiences of just growing and learning and keeping equipment alive together. And so, of course, we all grew very close, especially in the early days of the company we were at. So, yeah, I mean, John, was there anything you wanted to note about just I don't know, getting started, finding a place, getting settled? You also moved countries for this opportunity. So,
Yeah, I could give a quick little background about myself. I was a mechatronics engineering graduate from the University of Waterloo in Canada, and I graduated in 2020, right after COVID started. So during the chaos of the pandemic, I was looking for jobs, and it was actually a past fellow intern of mine from a past internship that got me connected to the startup that I met all of you at, and got a job for the summer. Thought it was a good start during the middle of the pandemic, and flew across the continent in the middle of the pandemic to a new country, a new city. Met Justine over a WhatsApp phone call. She told me she had a snake, and I was like, you know what? It's a roommate. I'll take it.
red flag number one.
And yeah, it turned out to be a great experience. And yeah, had a great couple of years working alongside Justine and Alicia, and lots and lots of learning experiences.
And you liked Norman by the end of knowing him as well.
I did, and he only got lost in the house twice, I
Twice.
think.
Yes, twice.
Yeah.
I would
But
be terrified of Norman. Let me be clear.
he's a good guy. He was bred in captivity. He's a very sensitive
Snaky.
soul.
That's his only problem to me.
I was told if you don't struggle, he doesn't strangle.
No, that's not true. I never said that to you. You're giving him a bad name.
Norman
we
was a great
digress.
third roommate.
Yes, he was a great addition to the family. But yeah.
I was curious, John, were you thinking about going outside of Canada, or were you just like, I'll take a job wherever I can get a job coming out during COVID? It's a terrible time.
I was. Being at the University of Waterloo, I think it's no strange story that a lot of students get jobs in the States. It's just there's a massive engineering industry and lots of tech innovation and exciting jobs, and lots of companies hiring interns. So when I was looking, I had a few interviews for jobs in Canada, and I had graduated again, and I was looking for a full-time job. It was actually kind of unusual as a concept to me to take a job as an intern after having graduated, but
That is weird.
yeah, but I had never been to the city of Reno before for a long time. I didn't know if I would like it. And so I thought, it's a good way to give a job a chance and an opportunity to see if you like it. And I ended up loving the city. So it ended up being a great opportunity.
I actually, and Justine and I have talked about this before. I really like the try before you buy, even if that sounds crass, but like on both ends, right? Like you get to try a job and see if you like it, and then the job gets to try you out and see if it's a good fit, because it's such a crapshoot to go through interviews and then hope for the best based on one meeting with people.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
100%. I would say like the most valuable thing that I did during my entire undergrad was doing internships in different kinds of companies and getting to figure out what I liked, I think is a super valuable, underrated experience that no one really talked about when I was an undergrad. But I got to work at a small private company in Ontario as my first ever job out of school. Quickly learned that it was a manufacturing job. I was in plastics, and I didn't really have any enjoyment or fulfillment by the end of that term, and realized like I needed to find something I was interested in. And for every subsequent internship, I kept trying to look for something exciting and different, and got to try a big corporate company, a very small startup of just 12 people, um, and a research internship, and then a internship at one of the big five tech companies at the time too. And all of those offered very different experiences, but were all super valuable in their own way. And I came out of it knowing I wanted to work at a startup when I graduated. And I think a lot of people don't know that unless they get to try it. And when better time than as you're a student?
Wow, I didn't realize how many internships you had the opportunity to do through this program at Waterloo. Kind of, for some reason, thought it was only a couple, but it's really cool that you had such a variety. Was there a particular draw to the startup space, or was it that you didn't love some of the private sector or the really, really small teams, or a larger corporate job?
There was definitely a culture at Waterloo that hyped up the idea of working at a startup. There was there was a saying when I was there, Cali or bust. You make it to California, or your whole undergrad experience was for nothing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
personally hated that saying. I thought it was kind of ridiculous, but there is a lot of really exciting work going on in California. I still think there is, like in the Bay Area specifically. But that tech culture isn't for everyone. The constant grind, um, and everything that goes along with it. But yeah, I think like if you talk to any intern or anyone who hires interns, they've probably heard of Waterloo at some point because they spit out so many interns all over the place, which I think is pretty great. Um,
How did they do that? I mean, is that just a focus of the college? I hadn't heard
it's
that actually.
Yeah, it's how they structure the whole undergrad programs. Like every engineering program, and I think across all other disciplines, you have the option of structuring your degree like this. Where for me, it was every 4 months, pretty much, I would switch between work and school. So I did 8 months up front for my first year, and then every 4 months after that, I was either on an internship on a co-op, or I was back at school, or year round. So it was like a spring, or I guess like a winter term, summer term, and a fall term. Each was 4 months long, and every 4 months, you'd switch,
That's
and
awesome.
which also meant that every 4 months you were looking for your next job, which
Oh
did
yeah.
it did get tiring after a while, um, but it prepares you so well for the real world, and getting into the workforce beyond anything that I think academia can offer you.
For
I think
sure.
that's incredible. It's kind of like the MECOP one in Oregon, right, Justine?
Yeah.
But on steroids, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because his turnover was so much higher and his opportunity to try was double, right? Because we did two
yeah,
6-month internships, and it sounds like you did 4 4-month internships.
Yeah, 5 actually.
5.
Yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
Do not undersell.
So sorry.
I mean, I'm mad at John right now because he said the Bay Area is better. Ugh, no, I'm kidding.
I don't
I'm
think that's
Protect
actually,
startup, please. Is like all
I'm
they can
kidding.
do.
But honestly, I'm learning recently. I've joined some groups for founders and things like that, and I'm learning that there's just a lot more tech than I even knew down here. It's very focused on aerospace, but there's a lot of other small hardware companies out there. I'm going to hardware meetups. It's pretty impressive, but it is like a baby compared to San Fran. I
Well, I
understand.
mean, you're in LA area, which still means Cali or bus. So here we are.
I know. No, I was curious, you said the plastic company, you knew that you weren't that excited. Was it both the work and the engineering, or was it because you weren't passionate about the manufacturing product?
I think it was that I wasn't passionate about the product, and also that the team culture just really wasn't a good fit for me. Um, and I think that's something to think about too. That as a student, you're probably not actively thinking about while you're studying for your next exam. Um, but the team dynamic at each company I worked at was different too. And finding a good group of like-minded people was ended up being really important to me too. I didn't have that in my first job. There was a couple other internships where I really didn't have that, and it wasn't until I finally got into like the real clean tech space that I found like-minded people that really energized me.
For sure.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
you and I have talked a lot, John, and I know that you really want to stay in places that you're passionate. And I just really admire that because so many other people are just like, I want to go where I get paid the most. It doesn't matter what I'm automating or building, as long as I get to flex my engineering muscles. So I think it's great
Yeah.
that you knew early on what you wanted to do and make an impact.
Yeah, and I think I got lucky kind of finding my way in that sense. And I know that my way isn't everyone's way either. But even if you're in it to make money, like, it's still worth trying out different companies to know if you like making money more one way as opposed to another.
yeah, yeah. In a
Yeah.
mission-driven space, it doesn't have to be green, but if you care about it can be anything that you actually really, really care about. But as long as the team is aligned on a common passion, almost like a shared ethos, it's really easy to find common ground with them, even if they're not the same age or in the same part of their own lives. It is a pretty uniting force, which is cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely makes it easier to get through the tough times if you've got a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Alicia went through a couple of tough times together.
Yeah, good segue. I mean, I wasn't even going to go there, but I'm ready to go there. So, yeah. No, I mean, John was doing automation stuff essentially, right? John, your first
Yeah.
projects, I mean, you were kind of, because you're mechatronics, so you were wearing
Yeah.
both the hats.
I was hired as a mechanical engineering intern, but I was put in charge of running the PLCs in Italian.
On Fiorio or something.
No, it's funny.
Yeah.
I remember now you spurred a memory that I had rejected from my mind, but I remember having WhatsApped like one of my Italian friends is like,
Yep.
what does this mean? And she's looking at it. She's like, bro, it's Italian, but it's technical Italian. So I don't even know. So like even Italians weren't, that's why like
Yeah.
Google Translate was useless to us. It just wasn't,
Yeah.
nothing was working.
No, I
Seriously.
remember that very distinctly. I think that was the three of us working together, and it was like a Saturday afternoon, and Alicia was like, "Hey, could you guys help me with this? Do you know anyone that speaks Italian?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we had to like do a whole cutover in one weekend to a whole new system. It was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was like I was supposed to be there as equipment expert, and I was not an expert on that equipment by any stretch of the imagination. And John's there as like
I
physical
was there as moral
support.
support. I was 100% just moral support.
But you
Yeah.
knew it better than a lot of us.
I think he just had a better attitude than I did, which goes a really long ways. That's a general trend with us is that John had he's like, it's going to be okay and we're going to figure it out. He'd be like, this is fucked. I hate that this is my Saturday. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't even fucking speak Italian. I'm going to talk to my Italian friends. Okay, they don't know. It's hopeless. Like, we're done. Let's quit.
Yeah.
Let's be done with it.
Yeah, but I'm thankful that John has that positive attitude because our other big trauma bond was where I had COVID and we had 3 projects going on at the same time and I was the only controls engineer and we had to commission a giant piece of equipment and it was really scary and I had to do this remotely with John being my eyes in the field and we just had to have trust for each other so fast so we didn't get fired and we didn't destroy anything.
Yeah.
The good news is the team was lean enough at that point that I don't think any of us could have been fired. But yes, I understand the feeling of, oh, this is pretty heavy pressure without a lot of wiggle room on opportunity to mess up and come back from it. So
And with all that being said, John, startups are your jam. Talk to us about why and how you made it through some of the more intense times where you were working too much. How you feeling these days?
Oh man, that's a big question. Let's start from the beginning and why I like startups and why I think they're a great place to be, especially as an intern. A startup has anyone who comes into it has to wear so many hats, no matter what role they come into. And I think, especially as an intern, you should want to make the most of the 4 to 8 or 12 months that you have, whether that's a summer or like a full year off if your school allows. Um, to come in and just like soak up as much as you can at a company. And so as an intern, sometimes you'll get the grunt work, and that's just natural. But sometimes you end up owning pretty big projects, and those experiences can put you so far ahead in life compared to just having academic experience. It's so different when you are trying to design something or put together a financial just bill of materials or model for something in a job compared to when you're doing it for a school project like a lab. Um, that in a startup, I mean, you get to see everything that's going on, or a lot more that's going on. You're not so siloed as you would be in a big corporate company. And you usually get to put your hands on things too, which I also think is super valuable. And I'm pretty sure Alicia and Justine will both preach to that. But yeah, you get to touch things as an intern too.
yeah, you
Um,
will get dirty. You will be
yes,
involved. All
yes,
hands are necessary. So
yeah,
you get to participate, which is a really good point.
yeah. So I personally think startups are a great play as an intern in particular. Um, sometimes the drawbacks would be the pay might not be as good. The hours might be insane, and you got to balance that for yourself. You may also not have as many resources to lean on that you would at a bigger company, um, like mentorship or software tools or established vendors and suppliers. You're going to have to figure out a lot more on your own, but I think those problem solving skills are really valuable too, especially in today's day and age.
Do you think, John, that it's a little bit like make or break it when an intern goes into a startup? Because you kind of have to be able to sink or swim, right?
Kind of, yeah. I think with a lot of jobs, you could coast and you're gonna get as much out of it as you put in. Um, but I think the consequences are a lot lower when you're an intern. So it gives you the freedom and the ability to try newer or like bolder things as well. Like try living in a new city that you've never been to before, or even a new country. I did a few of those. Um, and and you can take a lot more risk as an intern, like with those moves at least. You should always be safe, but yeah, hopefully you're not endangering yourself. Definitely been in some situations and seen some situations where interns are not supervised when they should be, but
We know nothing about that.
yeah. Yeah. um,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
dependent on the mentor, and it also depends on the risk factor that the individual is willing to take. And it's
Yeah.
hard if you have a really fast and loose culture, or like a get it done kind of culture, because it feels almost encouraged. But that only works when people are really kind of clever enough to manage a potentially rough situation.
Yeah.
And I guess that was my point. Like, not everybody's gonna have that gumption to just go figure it out and handle it. Like, certain interns that I've seen over the years would have been just absolutely terrified, and I don't know if they would have
Yeah.
just walked out, or they definitely wouldn't have been able to coast. But on the flip side of that, then like we've talked about, if you have a bad mentor or a bad manager, then you could be put in harm's way. I mean, so that's what I kind of meant on the sink or swim. But I think it's still a good thing, and I just want the audience to know, like, startups are freaking awesome, but you need to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there are any interns out there listening, don't be afraid to ask questions. Lots of
Oh,
questions.
Yes.
yes.
That would be that's one thing that I learned early on. I think like in one of my first or second internships. Actually, you want a story? My first internship, I got a written warning, a formal written warning on my fourth day because I didn't ask enough questions.
Oh
What?
my gosh. They were just
I
trying to teach
thought
you a lesson,
Like,
right?
was that like a cultural thing, or did you
I
get a written warning because like you did something wrong because you hadn't asked permission?
I thought I was gonna get fired on in my first week.
That's
Oh,
I'll
crazy.
I'll tell the story. So I started my first job on shift. So I was on a swing shift from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. at night. Or sorry, 11 p.m. It was 8 hours. And so I had like one full day with my manager on site, and then after that I was put on swing shift from 3 to 11 p.m. and I overlapped with leadership for like 2 hours of the day. Um, so I was put on a CNC machine to watch production and assure quality for the parts coming off the CNC machine. And I had this guy who was training me, um, and he was supposed to tell me like what quality was good versus bad, and what parts were passable and which had to be rejected. And I thought everything was going great. The first day, things did go pretty well. The second day, there were some more nuances to the quality of the parts that were coming off that were like a little more questionable. And I did ask someone at one point, everyone's wearing dust masks and earplugs and safety glasses next to the CNC machines and these vacuum pumps that were running super loud. And I asked this guy, like, hey, are these parts okay? And he gave me a thumbs up and like a nod. So I said, okay, cool, they're good. And so you had to sign your name on these parts with a sticker. So I signed my name on like 100 parts. And the next day, the CEO of the company, like the president of the company, comes by and is like, hey, John, are you looking after these parts? These are all bad. Who told you that these were good? And I was like, oh, well, I asked my mentor and he said they were good. And he was like, okay, well, they're bad. So if he says they're good, make sure you get him to sign his name on it too. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Um, and this conversation happened in the lunchroom. I was
Oh
eating
no.
lunch, and this guy came through the lunchroom, and it was like almost on a passing note, he was like, hey, make sure you're like checking the quality of your parts. I was like, okay, cool. And I kind of thought nothing else of it. And so I went back to my shift. I finished it off. The next day I come back, and uh, sure enough, like another stack of like 100 parts came off the line with my name on it, and they were rejected again. And here's the president with his like right hand man who's saying, I need you to sign these papers to acknowledge that you're going to do a better job and straighten up for the rest of this internship, or we're going to fire you. I was like, oh, okay. It's Thursday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh,
I'm about to get fired from my first job, and I don't even know why. So fortunately, my direct manager was a good mentor and was looking out for me. Pulled me aside and said, "Okay, look, I really want to understand like what has gone wrong this week. I think this escalated really quickly, faster than it should have, and I want to understand how we can make things better." So I ended up like doing a write-up, which turned into a project to reduce the noise levels in the whole plant, and it turned out to be the coolest project that any of the other 3 interns had had, and better than most of my classmates had had that first term as well. Like I was hands-on doing noise surveys, learning about decibel reduction and like how to design a sound enclosure, and then did all this CAD and manufactured these things myself. And it turned into a really cool project, but I did not think I was going to make it past day 5.
way to turn that story like around and give us that good nugget, because I was about to go kick some ass for the terrible leadership they had. Like that's horrible.
Yeah.
It is
Character
so
building.
interesting how problems arise though, right? It's rarely malicious. It's usually just an amalgamation of I'm really new. I've been here one day. I'm now working super late at night, kind of solo. I can't hear the people around me. They don't give a shit about me because I'm completely new. And like, it's just my name on it. It's like, how many layers of protection is being stripped away so that problems happen? I'm glad your manager really was like, wait a minute. I mean, I hear what they're saying and I can't take away the fact that they've written you up, but I do want to look at what went wrong here so quickly. So
And I think I've seen plenty of interns over the years that fell for the trap of not asking questions. And I'll also say I've done it where I was too insecure to ask questions because I was in a new, I had a lot of experience, but I was in a new industry and people were using acronyms around me or whatever. And you're just like, oh, they just hired me for this really important role. I can't act like I don't know anything. But every industry is different. Every company is different. And so I just like what you said, to just ask questions. Do not worry about if you feel like or you worry about sounding stupid or whatever. Like you got to ask the questions.
Yeah. Ask questions till you get ignored. If you get ignored, go ask someone else. Someone will be very willing to help you. I can promise that.
Yeah, and even if you think you understand what somebody's asking for, it is still useful to have clarifying questions. I fell into this trap at my last job where this field service person was like, oh, hey, on the production floor, how do you test this thing? It was like the cross pressure of the end product. I was like, oh yeah, here's our work instruction. This is how you do it, right? And then he took that and said, this is the official work instruction for testing out in the field on how to do things. It's like, no, I thought you were trying to clarify and understand how like the product is. It's like the thing in the field is exposed to other stuff and there's like inconsistent temperatures and you need to make sure that you don't damage the product while cross pressuring. And so it turned into, somehow it like went from me to him to like a whole slew of other people and then came back to me. I was like, wait a minute. He was asking a question. I clarified through this. That was not permission to use it out in the field. but it becomes quickly where you don't always know why people are clarifying or asking for something. So it's really useful to understand where people are coming from. And it's rarely malicious. It's usually just, this is a nice quick fix. And it's like, well, I probably wouldn't use it for that.
For sure. I agree. The questions are everything. And my follow-up question is, have you been able to mentor people, John?
Yeah, I have.
Yay.
It's been very very cool to scale and grow with the startup that Justine and I started at, and go from very much the person who is just learning everything and soaking up as much as I could, being the mentee, learning how everything worked at the company, to becoming one of the most tenured employees and really mentoring not just junior employees and experience, but even new people coming into the company. Um, and it's been really interesting being a person who understands the company culture from where we started and what we started all about, and now passing that along to mentor new people coming into the company, to sort of teach them what we're all about and how we like to do things.
Yeah, that's wild. Just how quickly turnaround is and growth at some of these startups, to the point where like you were the intern and now all of a sudden you are the authority in various aspects of the business. I mean, I saw that
Yeah,
happen with you personally. So
Or even just
that's
having the history, because I mean, there's projects that get picked up and put down again depending on importance and timing and resources. And
yeah,
sometimes who touched it last is either like doing a different project or had moved on at that point. And so
yeah,
it's really helpful to have, as much as people say like write everything down, it's like tribal knowledge is everything when you're in a fast moving company, because you don't necessarily have the time to document. So
yeah.
yeah, it's super cool to hear
I,
that experience.
I've lost count of the number of times someone has asked me, "Hey, do you know where this piece of equipment is?" Or, "Hey, why do we have this?" I'm
You're
like,
like,
"Oh,
well,
there's a story behind that
there's always
one."
a story behind it.
I
Always.
really enjoyed that though. I've jokingly said I'm like the company's historian
Yeah,
after a few times, because well, my team worked on all the projects because we were automation, so we got to see other areas where some people just get stuck in, one business sector or not. But I know you moved around a bunch, John, so you got to see a lot of
yeah,
things.
yeah. I've gotten to touch, a lot of the different projects now at the company, which is really cool. And it's interesting to see how the different projects are run as well, and how different teams have evolved even within the company. And now there's like different cultures within different teams,
Yeah.
um, which is cool to see. But at the end of the day, we're all one big team. Got to make
Yep.
the shit happen.
But yeah, that's
Absolutely.
the other thing with startups is, just broadly, is figuring out how to build a culture. And how do you build a culture with 5 people and then 100 people and then 1,000 people? And it's not so easy.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly difficult actually, especially for a startup that grows so quickly like ours did. You bring in all these people, and especially if you bring them all in from the same place, they're going to
Mhm.
bring a lot of that culture with them.
Hmm.
And then, you know, it feels like you're fighting a battle where you're trying to keep the culture within the company the same, and you have this wave of new people coming in, and they're trying to change things. You're trying to show them that this is a different place. This is not where you came from, and I know you think you did one thing one way that was the best way, but let's consider that there could be other ways to do this too.
And that happens everywhere. So a lot of my clients are corporate, and they have the same thing where some executive comes in and they bring all their people, and then it naturally is going to try to shift in that other direction. And but I think that's a lesson for all engineers, is like, go in, even if you have 20 years experience, figure out what the company's doing, what they're doing well, what they're doing wrong, and then use your expertise to help them grow in areas. Don't assume your way is right and their way sucks. And just because you did it better and it worked some other place doesn't mean it's going to work there, because they're all different.
Yeah. And that comes back to what I was trying to pitch before, which is just like, as a student, if you're looking for internships, try different kinds of companies. Like,
Yeah.
if you've got your sights set on one type of company only, and I'm going to pick on some Bay Area companies because it's easy. If you go to Uber and then you want to go to Lyft the next term, and then you want to go to Apple and then Google, like, try a couple of different companies outside of that too, like a big corporate company or a long established one. Maybe you're interested in research, give it a try too. I did my research internship, and it was on a topic that I really liked. It was modeling energy storage systems, but I hated the research. I hated sitting at a desk all day and reading papers. That was not for me. And it guided my future choices to be like, you know what? I probably don't want to do a master's degree unless I can be really hands-on with it, because I hate sitting at a desk and doing research all day. I would do literally anything else.
What are you excited about for the future for John, or manufacturing, or clean tech? Give us a closing thought.
Oh man.
Put you on the spot.
You know, I am really excited for where the next big opportunity for sustainability is going to be. And I'm going to say, particularly in the US, it feels like we're fighting a lot of battles right now to keep sustainability alive and clean tech. And especially with the rise of AI, I think it's increasingly hard to keep focus on like long-term perspectives of society and the human race. But
Yeah.
I think it's still really important, and I'm really curious to know where we are headed next and where the opportunities are for sustainability, coupled with the use of or in support of AI, and how, we can still have a sustainable future somehow with these crazy AI tools that are rising up and all around us.
I'm I'm so conflicted about this topic, because I serve a lot of clients that want to use AI, so a lot of my projects are around that. And I personally use quite a bit of AI to help me do tedious tasks and things like that. But I mean, how much impact is that having on the environment for me to be more
I know.
efficient when I can use my freaking fucking brain?
Yeah. I also have been so conflicted about this, and like, I already am kind of sick of talking about it, but I just feel like it's unavoidable, and you might as like, my perspective is you might as well talk about it and try and have some good come out of it.
Yeah.
So that's my perspective. I've always been kind of an optimist, but I heard someone say the genie is out of the bottle. There's no putting it back in.
I like
Um,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in my view, I might as well try and have some conversations about it and try and push it towards some good,
And
as
and to
opposed
be
to letting it run away.
and to be completely fair, I mean, our energy infrastructure needs to go greener despite AI
Yeah.
using a bigger
Agreed.
slice of the pie. I mean, like refusing to get an electric vehicle because your local power plant uses coal is short-sighted, because your battery life will probably outlast that coal plant, because the writing is on the wall, right? It's getting cheaper and cheaper to do intermittent source energy. So it's just going to change. And to be fair, if you can use AI to data crunch really tedious, super scattered data sets and consolidate information and learn how to better utilize infrastructure and to not discharge electricity unnecessarily and to shunt everything correctly, like to upgrade our infrastructure, then it's already won back any, negative carbon points that it started with. So we'll get there.
Did you hear that, guys? Justine talked positive about AI.
Okay. I still have not used ChatGPT once. I haven't. At work, they made me use Gemini, and it was fine, but it's the only one I interacted with.
Thank you, John, for coming on. This was amazing.
Yes,
Thanks
it was
so much
good
for
hearing
having me.
from you.
Yeah, it's great to connect.
Bye, everyone. We'll have him on again. Don't worry.
Okay, bye-bye.
No.